people that hunt don't just like to kill.
Right.
They like, look, when I kill an animal, I have respect for that animal.
But it's times like that, hunting too. You get out on the mountain, right? All these things. I crave those things. I look for times where I'm always going to remember this. And I think that is hunting. You know, I wrote this down. You got to be mentally prepared. You got to know, like, times, right? We see different hunters, right? We're out there. There's guys that do. They just cruise the roads until they find out what they're looking for. They'll drive to a hill and they'll sit there all week. They got these big camps. It's cush. Life's good. Got their whole families with them, all this kind of stuff. And then there's, you know, guys like us who are looking for ways to make it better, right?
Yes.
But you got to be mentally prepared. Then you have to be physically prepared to be able to do it that way. So you have to be able to hike long enough to not have it wear you out or stop your hike. And then you've got to have the right gear so that once you get there, and then, you know, once you get the animal you're looking for, to be able to you say process it, depending on what kind of animal, right? If it's a
correct.
If it's a deer, I mean, what's average deer weigh? You think that? What did this guy weigh?
A big mule deer is 300 pounds, probably.
300 pounds, right? So if there's two of you, right? I mean, you're packing out 300 pounds. It's 150 pounds each.
Yeah.
And so that's not an easy thing, but it's those things you remember.
Yeah,
your entire lives.
I mean, you know, usually if you're backpacking in, you're quartering them out, so you're not bringing every piece of it out because, you know, you're not going to take the guts and stuff out. But yeah, you're probably 100 pounds each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so you think about that. You just never forget those things. And it's not that you don't forget it because you shot a deer or an elk or whatever it was that you were hunting. It was because of the preparation, the journey. You go on the strenuous hikes, right? You get to the top of the mountain. It's at the beginning of the morning. It might only be 50 degrees, but if you're sitting on the ground glassing all day in 50-degree weather.
And it's windy.
It's cold. Like, it's cold.
Yeah. Before that sun comes up.
Yeah. And then the sun starts coming up. You get warm. Yeah. You get tired. You take a little nap or whatever. And then, you know, here it comes. Night's here again, you know, and then you got to get back on it again. And that stuff over time, if you don't see what you're looking for multiple days in a row and it's hard work, I think at that point, your perspective on it is going to determine whether it's an adventure or a nightmare, right? Because if you just sit there and go, man, I know, because it could be 10 minutes later. We've been there, right? We've been there where there's nothing. We're all day long, and then boom, 50 of them pop up. And you're going, oh my gosh, right? And maybe the one we were looking for wasn't there, but still, it just happened all day. You're looking for deer, 50 pop up right before the sun goes down.
All the time. And
it gives you a little bit of hope, and then the next day you don't see anything or whatever. But then you go through that, and then I was saying before, it's like, even if you get that deer you're looking for, you shoot them, you quarter them, you take them out, you eat them, you got a trophy on your wall, you ate the meat, but then you're on to the next one.
Yep.
And that's the epitome of success, right? If you're going to win in life, so many people play this, you know, they played football in high school and they're 35 still talking about playing football in high school. It's like, the reason you haven't won is because you're still thinking about the game that you won 20 years ago, instead of thinking about the game that you can win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? I think successful people love that journey. They love getting to the top of the mountain and going, oh, all right, we're here. We got a great view. Nope, now we want to back down, hiking back down to the trenches, right? Getting back into it, and then back up to the top, and then you shoot that animal or whatever it may be. In business, it might be close that sale or get that client or whatever it may be.
Yes.
And then it was like, all right, you did it, but now what?
Yeah.
On to the next one.
Well, God, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about just the importance of having the right mindset of enjoying the adventure.
Yes.
And about life too.
Looking for it.
Yeah. When you're in business and you're building your business, learn to enjoy every process of it, you know, and I learned this probably the most with hunting in Alaska. Because when you're in Alaska and you've got 2 full weeks, in my opinion, you're best off going with the mindset, I'm going to go and enjoy the adventure. So I've gone up there for a Dall sheep twice, okay? First time I went up for a Dall sheep, I did not get a Dall sheep, but had a great adventure, ended up killing a great caribou and a great grizzly. It's here behind me. and all within an hour of each other. But the way that one worked is the first week we were there, we were actually hunting the river bottoms for bears, and it was late August, and it was miserably hot in Alaska. It was like 90 degrees in the flipping daytime. And
humid.
Bugs everywhere, getting bit. I had so many bug bites. So after like 4 days of that, we're not going to sing any bears. It's too hot. I told my guide, I said, let's just get up into sheep country. Sheep season didn't open until, I think it opens August. Sorry, this is first part of August, not last part. First part of August, because sheep opens up on August 7th, I believe. So this is like the 5th. I go, let's just get up on the mountain now and just start looking for sheep, and we did, and we did that, and it was good because we ended up getting dropped off, and then we had about a 10-mile hike on foot to get to where we needed to go. In Alaska, you can't use helicopter. You can in Canada. So there was a landing strip 10 miles out from where we needed to get to where we knew some sheep were, an area where sheep were. So, and on the way in, we saw sheep on the way in too. But we got up into there, and then as soon as we got there, we started seeing quite a few caribou around, which was fun. And then a big storm came in and just hunkered us down for like a day and a half. We could not see 50 yards, just total socked in, raining. And there's my guide, another young guy there to help us. We call him a packer, and then me. And we got a 3-man tent, and there's 3 of us in 3-man tent for like an entire day, just having to just wait out this storm. Right? Sucks, but bring a book, you read a book, you spend time, just kind of finding stuff to do. And then anyway, on that hunt, I ended up not getting that sheep. We got up the next day, and we got within 50 yards of 5 rams, and none of them were quite legal. They got to be big enough to shoot up there to be legal. But then we came down that day back to camp, and we glassed up this grizzly. So we bailed off the mountain, killed him, and this grizzly was after the caribou I killed, and we killed the caribou like an hour later. So we have these 2 awesome animals.
He was hunting the caribou for you.
He was, yeah, and we killed both those, and then it took us like 3 days to get him out of there because we had to hike that 10 miles out, and we had to.
Well, not only that, how much does a caribou weigh?
Oh, they're the size of a cow elk. Yeah. So, I mean, my pack probably weighed 130, I would guess.
It's crazy.
and here's the thing about Alaska. The thing that was my first trip up there, and for me, the scariest part was, I mean, yes, there's some steep mountains and some rocky ledges and things like that can be dangerous, but it was crossing the streams and the big rivers.
Yeah. They're
tricky, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they that water, when it's rushing by and you got that much weight on your back, and in fact, the packer, he ended up falling in on one, and there was so much weight on his back, it sucked him back, and the water was going up over his face. Fortunately, my guide was right behind him and saw him, so he'd go and lift him out.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know if he couldn't get his pack off or what, but he could have drowned, right?
Yeah.
So things like that, you just have to be careful about. But my point is, through that experience of that extended time, I mean, a lot happens. You see a lot of cool things. We saw a lot of bears later. Once we got into that area, and the second time I went up there, same thing. Saw bears everywhere, and ended up getting a Dall sheep on my second trip up there. But I had the mindset, I'm just going to go and enjoy the hunt.
Yeah.
And every time I do that, I have more success.
Yeah, I think when you learn to enjoy the growth, right? So I think you say, all right, I'm going to go do this hard thing. And you go, I'm doing it because I'm going to grow and I get better because of it. I think anytime I always do something, and I've said this before, I always just, Kelsey be like, man, you're gonna do that again? I'm like, the question I ask is, am I going to regret doing this again? No.
Such a great thing to think about.
If I'm not going to regret doing it again, right, then I want to do it again. And I think for me, it's like, if it's going to cause me to grow or get better at this thing that I'm trying to get better at, who cares how hard it is? Just enjoy the growth, enjoy the process.
Yes.
Right? Rather than I guess holding on to the pain, pay attention to the progress, right?
Yes.
Because we all know you have to go through pain to get to progress, but so many people avoid pain, they never see progress. Versus if you'll just sit down and go, you know what, I really enjoy that I'm growing, I'm getting better at something, and you get experience, you get knowledge. I mean, these are things you cannot replace. Like, nobody can take away knowledge from you. Nobody can take away experience from you.
Right.
Right? So you might get really good physical shape and get injured, and 6 months from now, you're not in great physical shape anymore. But no, you're not going to grow and learn and get better at something and then all of a sudden just lose it. It doesn't happen, right?
Yep.
Once you learn a skill, you've got that forever. So yeah, it's uncomfortable. For me, I always just try to enjoy the growth, and I think it helps take away the focus of the pain. And rather, I just start going, you know what? The pain is here, and it stops everybody from being out here, which is good because not everybody gets to experience this. Only the people who are willing to go through this.
True.
Right? And there is something special about being out there. I was just talking to Jefferson the other day about I have a desire. You know, I want to go out. I want to go to Alaska and have him drop us off and go do an incredibly adventurous hunt. And we were talking. He goes, you know, I just haven't done it up to this point because he's been hunting for a long time, right? He said, I haven't just done it up to this point because if I go do it, I want to do it with some friends that I can bond with and we can have a great time with and we can have adventure with. And it's,
exactly.
When he said that, it goes along with what we were talking about today. It's just like when you get up there, you know, whether it's with your, you know, with our boys or just as brothers together, just doing something, we remember these things forever because it's just this bond or this
I'll tell you
camaraderie.
What we should look at doing together is an Alberta black bear hunt. And that would be a good one to bring our boys with us.
Yeah.
So they got to be 10 to kill a bear up there.
Okay.
But that would be a really fun adventure for a first time hunt. The reason is some of the camps that we have up there right now, you typically hunt in the afternoon to the evening. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't get dark. You know, usually these hunts are May to June. So it's a good time of year because there's not other hunts really going on around here.
Right.
So you're not conflicting with any of that. But the days are long. So it doesn't get dark until, 11 p.m. or so. So you're hunting. You'll leave camp at like 3 and you'll drive 100 miles or so to your stands. And then they'll have baited stands. They have spot and stock too. Spot and stock's also fun. But the baited stands are really cool for like a situation if you've never hunted bear before, if you have a kid with you, mm-hmm. because you can just sit and watch the bait and some of those stands they have set up. I mean, there's so many bears up there. You see them coming in and out. Sometimes you'll have a sow with cubs come in. The cubs are these little tiny fur balls, you know. You just got to be careful that the fur balls don't get between you and the mom because then you're in trouble.
Yes.
But I love to be on the ground with the bear. And I love to watch them come in and out of there and just watch for the right bear, watch for a big boar to come in. And so we ought to look at that. It's just a good experience. But anyway, then you after the night hunt, you drive back, usually eat dinner at like midnight, 1 o'clock, mm-hmm. and then you sleep in till 9 or 10, get up and shoot your bows together. I always do it with archery.
Yeah.
Because the bears are 10 yards from you. They're right there. You can do it rifle too. And people go, isn't that scary? And it actually never has been scary to me. It's really cool. I remember killing my first bear up there with a bow, how I was shaking. I was so excited, I wasn't scared. I was just excited. Holy cow, I just killed a massive black bear with an arrow, So, anyway, we ought to look at doing that.
Yeah. I'm in, dude. Totally. I think Rome would be pumped too. But yeah, man, I think all of this is, as we talk about this, I really hope that, people listening to this, one, I think that everybody should go hunt. I really do. I think everybody should go out there and do it and at least experience it.
You should talk a little bit about that Donnie Vincent video on YouTube because I think everybody should watch that video, that one I sent you that mm-hmm. day. It's called Who We Are. Yeah. You should talk about that a little bit. That and the Comfort Crisis book you've been reading. Yeah, I just got done reading this book called The Comfort Crisis, which if you guys haven't read it, I highly suggest go get it. And it's talking a lot about the modern day diseases that we face or because we've sought out comfort, right? Mm-hmm. And God didn't design our bodies for us to constantly be comfortable. They were designed, right? We were intellectually designed to do these things, right? And so the book Comfort Crisis, he goes on this incredible hunt with Donnie Vincent, which if you guys watch Who We Are with Donnie Vincent, you'll know he's a, world-renowned, hunter mm-hmm. and conservationist and videographer, puts together some really cool material.
Yeah, loves it.
I love that video because it really goes over what conservation is, and I think he does a really good job of I think it's 10 minutes long or something. Yeah, and that's another thing we should talk about, and I've really learned and gone to appreciate that a lot more, and how important having men like us who are willing to go out there and hunt, and how much better it is for the environment because of hunters, right? Yes.
And you just don't know that. You don't know these things when all you do is go to Whole Foods to buy your dinner, or you go to Albertsons or whatever. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know, and you don't understand wildlife. You don't understand really what happens, right? But anyway, in the book Comfort Crisis talks about a lot of these things. Like, I'll just go over a couple of them. For example, like, and he has all this science behind it. I should have brought the book with me, but one of the things is like the best workout. Like, our bodies were designed for rucking, right? And he says the best workout, scientifically proven, they got all this stuff. The best thing you can do for longevity is to carry a pack with 100 pounds in it and just walk.
There you go.
Right? And then he talks about like our bodies were designed, the way our sweat glands are, and the way we move and the way we walk. We were designed to track down animals for hundreds of miles, to where eventually they just couldn't go anymore, but we could still keep going and then hunt down these animals that obviously we feed our families with. But then in the process of that, he talks about like the getting cold. I've talked a lot about cold and hot therapy. So in the process of that, you're getting hot and you're sweating, but then the sun goes down and you're freezing cold, where our bodies were designed for that, right? So when you take away those things by saying, okay, here I got cold at night, and, let's just turn on the heater in my house or get in the car.
Hey, did you notice, keep on your track, I don't want you to lose your train of thought. Did you notice when you got back from hunting, you were like hot when you got home?
Yeah.
Like I can't sleep right now because I'm so hot at night.
Yeah, I think naturally your body gets
our
used to it.
thermostat's like 65, and I'm like, I'm sweating.
Well, I went hiking yesterday. I told you I went hiking yesterday in Snow Canyon in shorts. It was cold. It was cold. It was, I think, 45 degrees yesterday in Snow Canyon. I was just wearing shorts. But yeah, so I think our bodies are designed to, when we have these situations happen, hot, cold, long distances, carrying a lot of weight, watch the sun come up, watch the sun go down, the adrenaline rush, we got the animal we're looking for, the being able to eat fresh meat, all of these.
It's living.
Yes.
It's life. It's that's living, right? Most people never live. That's
what we were created for. And it's when you do these things, the reason you sleep better, the reason you have more energy, the reason why you look better physically. God made it so that our bodies are designed to do this. And again, I'm an amateur, especially when it comes to hunting. But getting out there, and then as much as I love the natural healing and these cool things you can do for better performance, and I'm always looking for a way that I can perform better, and I could just get more out of myself, and I can become a better dad or a better father, a better husband, a better friend, just a better person. I always tell my wife, I want to be the guy that my kids look up to and go, dang, my dad was a badass, you know, like, not because I'm trying to be tough or whatever, just I'm willing to do hard things. I want to provide a great life for my family, and I want to make sure my family's fed with great food and nourishment, but we also don't shy away from doing things that are uncomfortable. Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's hard. Right? What's hard is being broken, being miserable all the time. That's hard.
Yes.
That's another thing is, I think hunting naturally gives, for sure, men. I'm sure it does for women. I can't speak for women, but for sure, men, it gives us this natural like endorphins where you're just happier. Yeah. And it's, I don't know what that part is. I'm sure there's some science behind it.
I guarantee there is, because I've been so many times, even last year, we did kill, in fact, that's this deer that's up on the wall over here with my two boys. It was an evening hunt, and he came out fairly early. He came out, probably an hour before dark. So we killed him. And then, but there's a difference between hunting mode, and then kill mode. Yeah. Like when you go from, okay, I'm going to kill this animal. Yeah. There is something that kicks in, and I've seen this every time I've been this way. I mean, every time you go into kill mode, there is not adrenaline, I'm sure is a part of it, but it's just it's focus. It's a new energy, and we kill this deer. We get down to it. It's me and my two boys, so I'm gonna pack this whole thing out by myself. I mean, Bridger could carry the back straps, which he did. But I had to process this thing. I got my two little boys. I can't be too late, and I got to kind of hurry. And I had so much energy that night. I was not tired. I packed it out. I was jacked up. We got home. I couldn't sleep that night. It was living. Yep. That's living, right? And I would agree with you that we are designed to do that. That's why when that kind of stuff, when you experience those type of things, you go, holy cow. If I wasn't a hunter, and that's happened to me multiple times, by the way. That's every time. In fact, one of the things I did want to talk about with conservation as well is I love to call coyotes. I got to get you out in the next week or so. We got to go.
Let's go.
We got to go hunt some coyotes. But that's my favorite kind of hunting. And people go, well, do you eat the coyotes? I go, no, I don't want to. Do you want? I mean, I do. I can.
Do you want to eat dog?
I'm happy to save some for you if you like. But no, I do not eat them. It's like, why do you kill them? And the reality is that it's all about management and one, it's fun to hunt coyotes because they're predators. They're very smart. And every time I have a coyote come in, I get that same kill mode type focus, right? And it helps me be a better shot for big game hunting. So it's good practice. Yep. But there really is a important reason to manage coyotes because coyotes do kill a lot of fawns and a lot of cattle. And, I look at it this way. I mean, if you have a home and you have rats or mice in your home, do you just let them scurry around your home or do you want to kill them, right? Sure. You want to kill them and get them out of there. Coyotes are that to ranchers and farmers and deer and even baby calves, baby moose calves and
to natural wildlife. Yeah. I mean, coyotes are predators and they are hunting the animals that we would like to see grow up.
And nobody else hunts them,
yes.
right? Except for us. Mm-hmm. So it's like mountain lions, right? Yeah. Mountain lions, no one else hunts mountain lion. But why would you kill a mountain lion? Well, first of all, there are a lot more mountain lions out there than you probably think.
Yes.
And they kill a deer a week. Yep. That's what they do. Now that's fine. There needs to be that balance. Absolutely, right? But there's situations where and wolves are, they reintroduce wolves to, Wyoming, and now they're getting into Colorado. And they decimate the elk population, right? Mm-hmm. They will kill. They're killers. That's what they do. They will kill just to kill, Yeah. And so anyway, there's important parts of conservation that people, I would hope would understand that those people that hunt don't just like to kill.
Right.
They like. Look, when I kill an animal, I have respect for that animal, even a coyote. Yeah. I really do. I respect the fact that animal, they're smart. Mm-hmm. They survive out here, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that I get to go and experience that and do that.
Well, I think that too, like from a conservation standpoint, one of the things I never really understood. Well, first of all, most people who criticize hunters never really spend enough time outdoors with animals. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. I mean, not to be controversial or whatever, but most people criticize it, went to REI, got some fancy stuff and then went out and camped in a national park or something like that. And they call themselves conservationists, right?
Sure.
But when you learn about these animals that you're hunting, right? First of all, you have to learn a lot about migration patterns. What do they eat? What hunts them to know where to go. So you learn a lot about their natural habitat. You learn a lot about the predators that are trying to eat them, mm-hmm. that you're competing with, really. But then I think a big thing that I learned was I don't know why. There's only a certain amount of resources we have in this world, right? And when you have like a big buck, for example, and he's big and he's, older, maybe he's 6 or 7 or 8 years old or something like that. Mm-hmm. The younger bucks are competing with him for resources.
Yep.
Right. And so what happens is because he's bigger, older, more experience, all these things, he doesn't give these young bucks the opportunity to be able to grow, right? He's taking those resources.
Become the bigger bucks, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So by hunting that big trophy buck, you're taking away the competition. Maybe there might be 5 or 6 or 7 bucks that live in that same area. And by taking away this one, you allow these 5 or 6 or 7 to thrive.
You just multiplied the population.
Exactly. And by the law of multiplication through, whether it's in in financial services we talk about so much, in business, you grow by multiplication, but you allow that to happen in the natural world by taking away this big, powerful animal that is taking away a lot of resources and allowing that population of deer to multiply.
Yeah, right? and sometimes too, and this may not be as important to people who are just interested in the meat, but sometimes there's management hunts and what that typically means is you'll have a deer that has maybe like 4 points on one side and like only 2 on the other, right? Or mm-hmm. 3 on the other. That'd be considered a management buck because it's not a perfect 4x4 or bigger, right? And so if one of those bucks that's a management buck or bull elk, is breeding all the cow elk or doe deer, they're passing on those genetics. And so, it's a lot of times there'll be management hunts to take those deer out to allow the ones that are not management deer, they're typical deer or typical elk, to get it, just like you're explaining, get older and breed more does, breed more cows, cow elk again, and make that age class stronger.
Yeah. You would do it with a garden.
Yes.
Right? You would prune a garden to make it grow. And I just never understood that with hunting until the last couple of years. And that's another thing, dude. I didn't just do this and you said, hey, let's go hunting. It was like, all right, if I'm going to do it, I want to learn about it. I want to know, like, why am I here? Not just, hey, I'm going to tag along and watch this happen. I actually want to learn. I want to, like, why
we got to
get
you
this?
A tag now, right? We got to get you so you're actually hunting. And so this next year, we got to make that happen. And then it's going to be a whole nother level, right?
I'm excited, man.
And that'll be fun. And
yes.
I think just real quick, we should talk a little bit about, how these animals end up dying. I've had people sometimes criticize if I have a picture of something that I just killed on my social media, and they'll criticize that and go, how could you do that? You're so evil or whatever. In fact, a lot of those people are really nasty, and they're like, you should die too, right? They get really ticked off.
Isn't it funny? Because those people are the same people we take to the top of the mountain and they cry on the way up and cry on the way home.
Yeah.
Because they don't realize like how much effort and energy is put into and how much respect that you have for what you're doing.
Well, I had one lady comment, why did that animal have to die? And my response was, well, they're all going to die. Yeah. Fortunately for this animal that I just killed, it died from a bullet immediately, instantly. Very clean kill, very quick. Didn't even feel it probably, right? If I didn't do that, I'm trying to think what this, I think this was one of the bison that I killed, I think up in Alaska. So these bison were older bison. And reality is, if they're not going to die from a bullet, they're not. It's not like they just pass away in an animal retirement community, with their family around them.
These people too busy on social media and living in their comfortable community and forget nature.
That's not how it works. Yeah, they're either going to starve or they're going to starve and get eaten alive.
Yep.
That is how animals die.
Yep.
They don't just lay under a tree and die. That's not reality, right? So. I'm a believer in killing good mature animals. Now, look, I'll take my boy out and maybe a first buck, shoot a little buck if that's what he wants to do. I think that's cool. I think that's okay. You're going to eat the meat. It's good meat when they're young, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But, as I've gotten older, I have no desire to kill the younger animals. I just don't, And so anyway, I think that that's...
Well, that could have happened in this hunt, right? This year. I mean, there was a lot of times, right? I don't know how many buck we saw that could have shot.
Yeah.
Chose not to because they just weren't as big.
Yeah, like if you get a tag next year and we're out there and we hunt a few days and we just don't ever get anything big and we see a little 2 or 3 point and it's like the last day, it's like, dude, you need to get your first deer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, right?
It's going to happen, and you're going to eat it and you're going to experience it, and or elk or whatever we end up doing, or antelope, whatever we end up doing, right?
Yep, I agree, and yeah, that's like a lot of it. I ate bison for dinner last night, and I appreciate it when I get to eat an animal that has been hunted. It's like, it's not like, I believe that it's actually more important for somebody to go experience the process because I think it makes you appreciate what you put into your body so much more. Because if you go to the store, like I don't eat anything that has been in a package or has been processed at all, right? So I eat meat and fruit. That's all I eat, right? So fruit doesn't come in a package. I don't buy it if it's prepackaged. I buy fruit, so I know there's, nothing. And then meat. I buy meat. There's nothing in a package. So I'm eating stuff that I know. If you go down the aisles in the grocery store and you look at all the stuff, I just think about all the animals that had to die to farm that, the pesticides, all the crap they use.
Arguably, a lot more people died from that than the cow you ate.
The gasoline that they have to use for all these machines to work inside of these factories. And then if you took that and you actually looked at what it took to make you a bag of Doritos, and you're going to criticize someone who's going to go out and work hard to hunt and provide a meal for their family that is natural, it's good for them, it has all the nutrients they need. To me, there's no question whether or not we should be out there hunting for our food. There's no question. I mean, the more I do it, the more convinced I am. And I haven't always been on that camp either.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like I can relate to people who perceive that because I was that guy at one time. They're like, dude, why would you go do that? You can go to the grocery store and buy anything you need.
Right.
And And that's how I thought. And I think the older and wiser I get, start having children, and I start thinking, okay, it's my job as a man to be able to provide no matter what happens.
Yes.
And so whether that is the skill set of, like when I went to the shooting school you guys did last year, one of the things that I don't want to just own a gun. I want to be proficient with this tool that I have. I want to know how to use this tool. I don't want to just, I can hit a target 100 or 200 or 300 yards. I want to know.
Right.
I want to know, all right, can I hit a target a mile away? And you're not going to shoot an animal a mile away, but if you can hit a target a mile away, hitting something deadly accurate at 500 yards is pretty easy to do.
It really is if you practice, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that having the experience behind a rifle or behind, whatever weapon you're going to choose to hunt is important. And then just getting that experience out in nature, I think it makes you appreciate things so much. I mean, you get out there and, maybe you see someone's dropping plastic or all this kind of stuff, and you see it moves down streams, and you're how many miles away from the nearest city, and there's plastic from these same people on Instagram criticizing you for hunting that dropped something on the ground, thought no big deal, and it ends up, out in the woods or whatever. So I think there's a lot of things that anybody who is on that side of the coin that thinks that, people shouldn't be hunting trophy animals or people shouldn't be hunting at all, I really would encourage those people to just go experience it and take some of these processes, like enjoy the journey, learn how the tools work, learn how the gear works, go do something, realize how hard it is, really. And I think, at the end, I always say that, just do hard things. If you do hard things, it exposes your character. I don't think that's where your character is built. I think your character is exposed during hard times, And if you have good character, you get to those hard times and you go, yep, this is why I'm doing it. Most people aren't willing to. And then if it's hunting and you got that buck, you have this massive rise of endorphins and feeling great and, man, we did it,
Yep.
You don't only get that, but everybody around you gets that as well. Everybody feels the same. No matter who shot the animal, you're going to feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's so many things that people can learn if they just go experience it. So rather than judging from social media or judging from afar, how about you say, I want to go experience that, and maybe your perspective might change. Yeah,
and the hunting industry in the U.S. alone is right under $1 billion industry, right? On $1 billion a year, almost $900 million a year is spent on just hunting just in the U.S. And so all of that money goes towards conservation in the industry. And you go to a place like in a lot of villages in Africa, there are no animals because there's no regulated hunting. So guess what the people did? They went out and killed all the animals. Animals don't exist anymore because they would just go kill them, which we call poaching, right? So we don't just want to go and decimate all the animals. We want more animals. I want my kids to see more animals than I see today.
Yes.
This unit we hunted, there's been too many tags the last few years, I would say, and so they've cut the tags way back. That's a good move, right?
Yep.
They need to let the deer populate, because when my kids get older and start hunting that unit, I want them to see more animals. So without hunting and without that money to pay for regulation, there would be poachers rampant everywhere, and there would be a lot fewer animals. So it's really a necessary part of our whole ecosystem of life.
Yes.
And that's why, I think hopefully today can help some people understand that. And I think really just get some life lessons out of all this. And people might go, if I want to go hunting, what do I do? Get a hold of me, right?
Yeah.
Get a hold of us. I can help you get set up to do that. And you can start with something very basic. You could go do a bird hunt, go hunt pheasants for a day. You could go, do something like that. Go on a hog hunt down in Texas, and those hogs, they're decimating the foliage down there and the crops, and they need to be taken out. There's some helicopter hunts people can go do, right? Fly in a helicopter and help get rid of some of the hogs.
Yeah, I think if you have a desire to hunt it, it's available for sure. But yeah, I think my suggestion would be, if someone has any desire whatsoever to hunt, whether it's rifle or archery. In fact, I started with this thing with rifle, and then the more we've been hunting, the more I go and I get out there with these animals. I go, I have a lot of respect for a man who gets a bow and goes and shoots an animal with a bow.
Big time.
It's amazing to me. Not even just shooting the animal, but getting that close to an animal to be able to shoot it with a bow is incredible to me. It takes an incredible amount of skill, knowledge, wisdom, physical shape, to be able to do that. So I think that someone should, if you have any desire, whether it's rifle or bow or muzzleloader, to get proficient with that weapon.
Yep.
Right. So whether it's, going to your backyard and shooting a bow 50 or 100 times a day, or whether it's going to the range and shooting a rifle and getting really good at it. And then tagging along, like I started doing with you, just like, hey, why not just go tag along and just learn, right? And just be there to learn. I think you'll know you'll start realizing what you appreciate about it.
I think what's good too about bringing you, I like bringing guys who like to be a student. When I go with a guide, I try to be a student of that guide. I still like to be the hunter. Yeah. And I kind of tell them, I say, look, I want to hunt, but I want to learn from you, and I'll let them lead for the first day or so and observe, and then I'll go, okay, I would like to maybe do this, but I want to take advantage of their expertise on the area. Yeah. And I would agree. I mean, there's differences between archery and rifle, and archery season is typically a different time of year than rifle. And it's just different. There's situations where you can set up in a blind and watch a water hole. And that can be a long, drawn out. That can be hard to do because especially if it's hot. Yep. And you're in a hot blind and you're waiting for that deer all day long, and you never know when it's going to step out. Yep. And you got to be there all day for it. They're usually going to come out first thing in the morning or last thing before.
Isn't that the epitome of success, though?
That's what it is.
Like I always, it's like doing these things that are so uncomfortable. And then at the moment, like the other day I was saying, I think the best appointments I always went on in my financial services career. In fact, one of the best appointments, I still remember it to this day because it turned out, and I didn't know at the time it was going to be the best, but I'll never forget. This guy calls me 1 o'clock in the morning. I answered my phone, first of all. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And that was like my thing. Like I used to tell people, hey, if you need me, you call me anytime, I'm going to be there, right? But call me 1 o'clock in the morning, says, hey, dude, I'm at Sherry's, which is like this, like Denny's basically, right? In Nampa, Idaho. Calls me. It's like a 45-minute drive from where I'm at. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm at Sherry's. I'm meeting with this guy, interested in the business. Can you come meet with him? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, okay, I'll be there. So I drive down there. And I didn't know at the time, I didn't want to do the appointment. I didn't want to drive 45 minutes to do this appointment. But I ended up recruiting them and closing business. So I'm excited that night. But I didn't know that appointment would turn out to be some of the most successful people we had in our business. But it was because I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know it at that time. Yeah. Right? But what if I would have just kept sleeping? So I think like when you're talking about hunting in a blind and sitting there all day, you just never know when that opportunity pops up.
Right.
And you're like, because I waited, because I was patient, I persevered. I wanted to get up and leave. I wanted to do something else because you're like testing that natural instinct to change or move or whatever. You get that reward. Yeah. And I think a lot of times that's what happens. Most people aren't successful, not because they don't have the skills, talents, or whatever. It's because they just get impatient. They're just not willing to stick it out and go through these challenging times, the ups and downs of success to get that reward that they've been looking for.
And we obviously had little kids with us this last week, but it's rare for me to take the afternoon off like we typically did. They kind of need the break, but there's a lot of times I'll go sit on a saddle or something where I think something might come over. Because no sense being at back of the truck. Yeah. You're probably not going to see him back at camp, right?
Exactly.
So you might as well just be out. You're out anyway. Just pack your gear and pack your snacks and be out. I mean, things do happen.
That's how I feel. You've seen it. I just if we're out, I'll just start glassing. I know there's not a lot of stuff out, but sometimes.
Yeah, and you might find something sleeping under a tree, and that's like when you're archery hunting. A lot of times, what you'll do is you'll get up early in the morning, and you'll bed some down, and then you'll try to make a play on them to get close enough to get a shot on them. And it's a lot of fun, and it is a new challenge, and very tough to kill things with a bow. Yeah. Sometimes archery is the best time to kill the biggest bucks because it's early enough in the season. If you got a water hole that hasn't been, and it's a really dry year and no one else knows about it, and you can go sit that water hole, sometimes there's a really good chance you can get a really good buck. Some of the biggest bucks are killed, right in that early archery season here in Utah, anyway. But then there's late archery seasons like for whitetail where you can sit in a tree stand and they're rutting the does and they're walking by the stands, and that can be a lot of fun. And just no doubt about it. I mean, to make a kill on a wild animal is typically not a very easy thing to do. A mature animal.
Yes.
Maybe smaller ones are a little easier, but I think like a mature mule deer is arguably one of the hardest things to get. to kill them. And mature whitetail are tough too.
Well, and yeah, I mean, guys, I mean, I'm sure there are, again, I haven't been long enough, but I'm sure there are guys that get lucky. We hear these stories all the time.
Absolutely.
Guys like, oh, walked right through camp, boom, shot.
It does happen.
Got this big 5-point buck, walked right through camp, Those things happen. But if you're going to do it long, I'm sure for a long period of time and throughout your life, I mean, you're going to have times like that where you get lucky because you were out there.
Yep.
Right? And that happens in business too. It happens in life. You get lucky because you put yourself in the environment.
Sure.
And luck is going to happen. Earlier you said you think God is involved. There's no doubt about it. But then also there's going to be times where it's harder than expected.
Right.
Like you were talking about weather rolls in or fire or fog or these unexpected situations that you just don't expect. And but then there are other times where it goes exactly like you expected it to. And I think going through all these different situations or scenarios out there in the wild is exactly what it takes to become successful in business or any relationship or anything like that. And that to me, it's really awesome because you can take these skill sets you've learned, whether you learned it from hunting and you apply it to business, or in my case, learned it from business and can apply it to hunting. It doesn't make it any easier. It just makes the result more predictable. And I think that's another thing too, is like, it's not like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's not like experience makes hunting easier because animals get smarter. They
adapt.
Yeah, they do, right? They change just like we do. So I don't think that it necessarily gets easier. You get better, you get more experience, you learn how to, predict what's going to happen more likely because you have more experience doing that thing. And because of that, you maybe get better results. And my guess is guys like Donnie Vincent, he spends 2 months a year out in Alaska every year. You go spend 2 months a year by yourself with nothing else around and just watch what's happening to the environment, you're going to start learning patterns and what happens. I think people that grow up in a city and like in St. George, we could say like, wow, it got cold late this year, but then it got really cold really fast. Usually by Halloween, you might be able to see your breath, but this year it was really cold on Halloween.
Right.
And so you can know, like in the past, that this is what happens in the environment, and you just lived here year after year after year, and so you kind of notice what happens. Well, the same thing happens out with hunting or in business, right? It's like you get an objection so many times, and you'll see guys start changing their presentation in sales to try to overcome this objection that they didn't get yet, but they think they might get it because they've gotten it so many other times, right? And so then they try to prepare, and so I think that just comes with experience, and to me, it's really powerful to be out there. I think there's so many benefits you get, not just, personally or for nature, but also just for life, for skills you can learn later on. I'm watching it happen in my son, man. I appreciate you so much for inviting us out because just these last couple of years, watching the things that my son has learned, the things that he notices, and the things that he values change as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because, we're in this environment where, especially our kids' lives, let's face it, they're really cush. It's like
big time. No.
My son plays soccer and he shows up to soccer practice and all the kids got Yeezys or new Jordans and, fresh haircuts and like nothing's hard in their life. So I love taking my 8-year-old son who is in that environment where everything's easy pretty much, right? Yeah, you might have to work hard playing soccer, but it's still pretty easy.
Yeah.
And taking him and putting him to this environment where it's like, dude, it's cold, it's windy, it's uncomfortable, everything will stick you or poke you or...
Yeah, I was just looking at my pinky. I still have a cactus
stuck
thing
in there.
Yeah, I can't get it out.
Yeah,
it bugs me.
Right? Yeah, it's like...
It's a week ago.
It's just like there's a whole new... Like it just changes. It changes people. So I think for kids, I wish that my dad would have put me in that environment growing up. I'm grateful now that I get to be the father that I get to do that with my son. But watching him change, like real time, it's not like it takes time.
Yeah.
Of realizing, hey, here's what's important, and you don't have to tell him. I don't have to tell him anything.
Yep.
I don't have to say, hey, like what kind of shoes you wear aren't really important because. We go out and go hunting. Those shoes are going to be toast.
Yep.
What's important is being able to have the energy and the focus, and does it keep you warm? And so now at a young age, rather than him thinking, oh, of course he still likes to look cool.
Sure.
But rather than what's cool is not necessarily the most important the last couple of weeks. It's, oh, Dad, if I was wearing these on the mountain, my feet would be so cold. You're
thinking about it now.
Yeah. Yep. Right. And just, I didn't have to say anything to him. I didn't have to say, yeah, they're nice Jordans, dude, but it's not, they're not really great shoes. They just look cool.
Yeah.
And just having him think about these things that really matter. For me,
what else I noticed too is when you're out, just the amount of times you're not comfortable and you're like, this sucks. But then half an hour later, it's great.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. To me, every day is like that.
Yeah.
It's like you're super uncomfortable, then, oh man, this is so cool. Oh my gosh, this is an incredible place. Oh my gosh, look at that animal over there. Every day is like that.
Isn't that the term? Just learn to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Right? I've heard you say that a bunch.
Yeah.
I think that it is. That's what you're doing, is you're embracing these uncomfortable situations you put yourself in. And it makes you think differently for sure. I notice, for me, man, it's like I've always told Kelsey, like my life has really never been easy, and I'm okay with that. But I've always worked so hard for my kids to have easy lives. Mm-hmm. And then as my kids have these easy lives, you start thinking about, okay, what can I do now to not make it as easy on my children while still making it comfortable, like I provided for them, right?
Right.
And
you want to have a better life for your kids, but you also want them to go through what you went through so they can become who they, it's a trick, man. I don't know how to do that.
It's a dichotomy. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. And so for me, dude, I love hunting because I believe that I know, I'm watching it in my son, the things it's teaching my son are priceless. They're things that the only way he can learn, no matter how many times I told him, no matter, that's the only way that I can teach him that stuff, and I'm not even teaching it to him. I'm just putting him in the environment, giving him the ability to learn,
Yeah.
And so for me, it's awesome. And then I enjoy it more because I'm spending this time with my son.
Yeah.
And then I know he enjoys it more because he can tell that I feel that way. And then it's just this revolving circle that you go around and you go, man, this is amazing. What a cool experience we get to have together constantly.
And hopefully as they get older, they'll always look back on that and go, man, my dad really took some extra time to do that, or to take me, or to, gear me up, or, put me in for hunts, or, stuff that just takes extra effort and time. Cause it's a whole new element when I take Bridger versus just go with myself with someone like you, and we just go without our kids.
Yeah.
There's much more to it when you're bringing, and my wife would say, well, yeah, it's welcome to my world, right? Because when we go on vacations, right, she's packing all the kids.
Yep.
And so you got to not just keep yourself warm and safe. You got to keep another, little kid who needs probably help tying their shoes still a lot of times warm and safe.
Yeah.
And it's just a whole, and man, so many times you get up on the mountain. Hey, did you remember your jacket? Oh no. I'm like, oh my gosh. And we're up on the mountain. Like, what are we going to do about that now? It's like, you can't wear one of mine. Mine are too big.
Yep.
So anyway, it's just, I think it's good to teach that responsibility.
But then they learn those lessons, right? And then like the responsibility of saying, hey, you left your jacket, you're going to be freezing your butt off for a while. If it was early in the morning, when the sun comes up, you'll warm up, you'll be fine, but next time they don't do that again.
Hopefully they remember next time.
Yeah. And you don't have to tell them. Better remember jacket next time. It's just stuff that like, oh, I better remember my jacket this time, right?
No doubt.
And it's cool.
Well, good, man. It's been a good one. I think, I could talk about hunting forever. We keep going, but we won't for today. We can end it there. But.
Yeah, man. I just hope that, that anybody who has just the slightest interest, like I can't even say that I had this like interest, I more so was, the first time we went last year is you invited me and I went, hey, I would love to go learn,
Yeah.
And then it turned into this interest, and now I'm just constantly thinking
just
about
did your hunter safety. You got that done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
So I would say anybody interested, man, reach out to Brandon and just start somewhere, just start getting some experience. I think you'll love it. You'll have a good time, and you're going to learn a lot of lessons that'll help you in whether it's business or life or as a parent or whatever, or just natural health benefits, I think, that you get from being out there.
Agree.
Maybe if someone's having a hard time sleeping or something at night, I would say go hunt for a week.
Yeah.
Like get out in nature.
No kidding.
And I'll bet when you get home, your circadian rhythm is reset. You've changed your
If you're stressed out about life, get out and you'll go, man, my problems are nothing. This is a big world. That happens to me every year. I go out and every time I go out hunting, I go, I don't have problems.
Exactly.
I think I do when I'm home.
Yeah.
So it's good to get out and get centered again, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Good job today. And hey, just we appreciate all you listening, and just would like to encourage you all to take advantage of some of these opportunities we have to living in this free country that we live in. Get out there and have some great adventures with your kids, and maybe with your spouse or with some buddies. And men and women alike. There's a lot of more women now than ever that I think are out starting to do some hunting. But anyway, I want to encourage you to live solid, like and subscribe to our podcast if you would. If you have any recommendations for us, let us know. We do have some really good guests up and coming that we'll have on here with us as well, and we appreciate your support so much.